Welcome back, everybody, to the show. It is a big one. Trump has now been president, unfortunately, for 100 days. We're going to get into some of the notable aspects of that in this segment, including a Fox News focus group that went kind of interestingly, but a big announcement that I've been just giddy, which is we now have a soundboard.
I love Tesla.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Right. And producer Cole is going to be handling that. You can see him over there in the room. Very exciting. So if you hear a soundbite, it was Cole. Blame Cole.
Legalized comedy.
Yes, it's so fun. All right. Thank you for being here. Before getting into the focus group, I need to be frank with you that I was laboring over what grade I should give Trump's first 100 days, right? I wanted to be fair. And so I think some of you might be upset that this is going to be more positive than than you would expect. But after laboring and taking notes and doing math, I decided to go ahead and give him an F. Okay? An F. I don't know if that's too high for some of you, but and it unfortunately was not ubiquitous. Here is Tommy Tubberville saying he gives Trump, for some reason, an A+.
The liberal polls, they're all fake polls. The nightly
liberal polls are all fake polls.
news broadcasts are awful. They're all, beating up on Trump. How do you rank his first 100 days, Senator Tubberville? Nice, easy question. 100 days. What do you think?
A+. What else can he do, Larry? They left it in a total mess.
What else can he do, Larry? I gave him an A+. Well, Tommy, he could address prices. He could not throw us into an economic crisis. He could not defund crucial programs. He could not violate the Constitution a bunch of times. He could not throw out due process. He could not, shall I go on? Here is a tragic truth that many who support Trump still think he's doing great.
What do you think of the first 100 days of Trump?
Blown away. Amazing. Amazing. He couldn't have done any better. For 78 years old, he is phenomenal.
Yikes. Now, as you can imagine, a lot of people aren't in agreement with Tubberville and that woman there. Here is a Fox News focus group where, as Aaron Rupar said, a guy named Jay was spitting facts. If you appreciate the show, please do click the subscribe button. We're always trying to make it the best that it can be, including the addition of Cole's soundboard.
I think that there is not a single person that we can look to in the Democratic Party right now to say that that's our leader. However, with that being said, I think taking the one person who's there over a party is also quite dangerous because of some of the things that he's done. Taking away due process from folks is not okay. He's quick to call out when he feels like his rights are being infringed upon, and yet the Fifth Amendment says that every person, it doesn't specify citizens, it says every person shall have due process.
So we don't guarantee constitutional rights to certain illegal aliens, particularly when they are suspected of violent crimes, which is why we have a finalized deportation list. And it's pretty clear. And I think some of the cases that are public now, individuals were on that. So where are you saying that due process?
So the Fox host here tries to intervene, but Jay has a good response.
I mean, to even get to that point, they must have gone through process.
Due process. Okay, so let's look at President Trump as an example. We call him a felon because he has been convicted of felonies. Some of these folks, without the actual due process, do not technically qualify as illegal immigrants because they have never had their cases heard. Now,
well, wait,
with
how
that
did they
being
get
said,
here is the question.
That's fine. But, there's, just like we say when someone is allegedly being accused of something, it's the same process, right? However they got here, due process is what gives them that status of being illegal or not. So without that process, you're essentially just taking up people off of the streets, giving them this without their actual process and deporting them. Now, am I saying some of these people should not have been deported? No.
Do we agree that if you come across our border in an illegal manner that you have committed your first crime?
I believe you are entitled to due process.
As she kind of tries to push back, it perfectly represents what is such a sort of flaw in their argument. And let us also not merge, because this happens as well. Deportation is really the wrong word in many ways for the El Salvadoran prison camp example, because they're not just saying we sent someone to be free in the home country where they originally traveled from. They're sending people to El Salvadoran prison camps without due process, right? So it's not to be free in a different country, but instead for an indefinite sentence in this supermax human rights violating prison, right? And so you could kind of hear her struggling with what Jay was articulating there, which is so important. We are America. We're supposed to be proud to be American because of principles like due process. Here is Mehdi Hassan laying out Trump's in 100 seconds, first 100 days.
100 days. That's how long Donald Trump has been president for a second time. And I know it feels more like 100 weeks or 100 months because he's done so much and so much damage. It's hard to keep up with all of his abuses of power, his crimes, craziness, chaos. So let me do it for you. Here are Trump's 100 days in 100 seconds. Start the clock. Trump signed a record number of executive actions in a single day, including one that aims to end birthright citizenship, which a judge called blatantly unconstitutional. He pardoned more than 1,200 convicted January 6 rioters. He took control of the press pool that covers him and banned the AP from presidential events. He arrested a judge. He reinstated the federal death penalty. He's establishing a Bitcoin reserve and offering private dinners to investors in his meme coin. He unleashed Elon Musk and Doge on the federal government bureaucracy to fire thousands of public servants. He did basically a free ad for Tesla on the White House front lawn. He and Musk cut 90% of U.S. foreign aid contracts. He signed an executive order to try and shut down the Department of Education. His defense secretary accidentally shared Yemen war plans with the editor of The Atlantic in a single group chat. Trump then bombed Yemen. He cut $400 million in federal grants to Columbia University, froze $2.3 billion in funding to Harvard University. He invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, even though we're not at war, and tried to house undocumented migrants here in the U.S. at Guantanamo Bay. He revoked the visas of more than 1,000 foreign students in the U.S. He detained and tried to deport green card holder Mahmoud Khalil for his speech. He illegally sent Kilmar Abrego Garcia to a prison camp in El Salvador and has defied a Supreme Court ruling telling him to try and get him back. He's deported multiple U.S. citizen children, including some with cancer. He imposed tariffs on 185 countries and territories, including a bunch of islands with only penguins on them. He then announced a 90-day pause for most of those countries, but not China, and wiped out around $10 trillion in global equity value in the process. He said he might invade Greenland, take back the Panama Canal, make Canada the 51st state, and threatened to bomb Iran like it's never been bombed before. He said he wants to clean out Gaza and move the Palestinians there to Egypt and Jordan. He hosted conspiracy theories, Laura Loomer in the Oval Office, and then fired government officials, apparently at her request. He called Ukrainian President Zelensky a dictator and then publicly berated him on live TV, bullied big law firms, called himself king, said Chuck Schumer's no longer Jewish, he's a Palestinian, and he wants to keep doing all of this for 8 more years because he's not ruling out serving an unconstitutional third term. Subscribe to Zateo.
You know, excellent job there by Mehdi. I feel like our former president had something to say about the type of people who would run a first 100 days of a presidential term that poorly.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
Exactly right. As we continue through some of these data points, it's not just me giving Trump an F. It's not just you upset with his first 100 days. And yes, a little part of me is, just 100 days. Oh no, we have a lot more days left still. And now he's acting like he's going to pursue an unconstitutional extension, king-like extension to his position in power, which we're not going to allow to happen, obviously. But it's not just us. At large, one little bit of hope that you can hold on to is that while it's tragic and infuriating that we as a country allowed and chose as a country to elect Trump for a second term after the first term disaster and after all that we learned about him, people now seeing what it is that he's doing, it is making a difference, and a lot of people are opposed to an unprecedented level.
You know, we're talking about tariffs, we're talking about the economy, and it's just a disaster. I mean, that's the only real word you can use to describe it. I mean, take a look at Trump's economic approval rating now versus 100 days in to his first term, and what we see is it's 10 points lower, right? The economy was a strength for him during his first term. Now it is a weakness. Now it is dragging him down, and we talk about history, right, and historic numbers. I look back for every single president since Jimmy Carter in 1977, the lowest economic approval rating through 100 days belongs now to Donald John Trump. And more than that, tariffs are also related to foreign affairs, right? Your relationships with other countries. So take a look at Donald Trump's approval rating when it comes to foreign affairs. You see, again, lower than the first term. You see it underwater, 39%. And again, that is the lowest on record all the way back since James Earl Carter in 1977 when we began polling that. And I love to see the smile when I refer to him as James Earl Carter.
No, it's that you're shouting at us.
I guess I'm so excited. I'm just so excited. Numbers get me excited.
I know they do. I know. That's why we love you, Harry.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Lowest economic approval, lowest general approval rating for any president, even compared to himself at this point in a presidential term. It's not good. That's not good. And I'm just going to, for today, because we try to have a little bit of positivity where it presents itself, to be hopeful with that, because then maybe mobilizing to elect people different in future elections is on the horizon. But yes, I also feel that little bubbling rage that we would this quickly as a people be upset with what we've done as a people, even if you're saying, well, I didn't. And these people, a lot of the people who now say they don't like him, they didn't even go out to vote. I get it. But that we as a people are regretting so quickly. So why didn't we just take the easier option of not choosing this in the first place? Is it because Kamala said,
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
I think I could have handled that for a few years instead of this. Sorry, I'm still excited about the soundboard. Thank you, Cole. Then here's Harry Inton talking about this hopeful element for those who are opposed to MAGA.
There is pretty much zero chance if Donald Trump's approval rating is 41% in November of 2026, the Republicans have any shot of holding the House of Representatives. There is no, I repeat, there is no precedent for a president's approval rating being as low as Donald Trump's is right now, and then his party holding on to the House in the midterm elections. We were talking about it yesterday. I mean, when you look at approval ratings this low, this early, you look at where the generic ballot is this low, this early, that usually spells doom for the president's party when it comes to midterm elections.
Yeah. By the way, this lower third chyron is such an indication of how culture wars mislead Americans. It says Trump underwater on most issues, except you might think immigration? No, except for gender identity, the pronouns, gender, as he's called it, which is what? Like, what is that? Because he banned pronouns at the end of emails in federal emails, maybe trans sports stuff. It's wild that the economy, foreign relations, immigration, etc., those things, a lot of people really did vote on and get convinced to care a lot disproportionately about something like gender identity. Like, what does that even mean? What is it that the president really does on that issue? Let's check in now on Republican Senator John Kennedy, who y'all know I have a big issue with. And he even struggled to defend Trump's first 100 days, which is crazy.
In terms of the president's first 100 days, it's hard to find the honey and the rock and the water and the stone in 100 days. But having said that, I think President Trump's done some things right.
It's hard. It's hard. Why do you always have to say it that way? It's hard to find the seed in the apple if the apple fell off the tree. What does that have to do with? I know that's probably some phrase and a bunch of you are going to write in saying, Luke, that's my favorite folksy phrase. I don't care. I'm sick of it.
It's hard to find the honey and the rock and the water and the stone in 100 days. But having said that, I think President Trump's done some things right in his first 100 days. He's secured the border. He's been very aggressive in abolishing racial quotas. He's deregulating the economy, getting rid of rules and regulations. He's changed the national conversation about the federal budget. He and Mr. Musk.
What? He's changed the conversation about the federal budget. Yeah, all of the people who wanted more efficiency in our government, like me, I want that, now are going to be hesitant when people say that that's what they're pursuing because Elon Musk and Trump so brutally messed that up, right? So they are going to make it more difficult to thoughtfully implement efficient changes because Americans are going to be more hesitant that the term efficient is actually just a smokescreen for getting rid of institutions that hold accountable powerful people, right? So they haven't changed. And the budget that they're pursuing would be terrible for the debt. So I don't know what he's talking about there, but apparently it's hard to find the honey in the rock and the water and the stone, which is really a wise thought from John. Here's more.
Here's what I think will be meaningful in the next 3 months. We have a plan to lower prices. Number one.
You don't.
It's called the reconciliation bill, which is just a budget bill. In that bill, we're going to reduce spending, which will help to lower prices. Number two, we're going to continue to deregulate the economy. Rules and regulations cost about $2 trillion a year, which increases the price of goods and services. And number three, we're going to try to redesign the tax code so that it'll look like somebody designed it on purpose and increase wages at the same time so that people can tolerate these high prices. If we do that, I think the American people will recognize our progress.
It's funny. The message has changed completely, right? On day one, we're going to lower prices. Maybe Trump was being sarcastic when he said that.
Well, I was being a little bit sarcastic when I said that.
But it seemed like he was being serious. And it's changed from that, prices are going to plummet on day one, to maybe the way that people can deal with higher prices is through deregulation that will mostly benefit corporations and tax cuts that will mostly benefit rich people and whatever the heck else he said there. And that's how you'll be able to deal. It's sort of like maybe we can get back to where you're kind of okay because of all the pain that Trump induced. No, no. Okay, no. I honestly would be hard pressed to find a first 100 days that I guess you don't have this in history, literally, since polling existed, as dramatic of a shift in perception about what Trump was going to do, even though he told us what he was going to do, but a lot of people had this other perception that MAGA pundits had convinced them of, to what actually ended up happening. One more Kennedy clip.
You talk about people tolerating these high prices. As you know, critics of President Trump's tariff strategy have said that this is a tax on Americans. Just 35% approve of President Trump's strategy. Do you buy the White House line that the chaos around the president's trade war is simply, quote, strategic uncertainty, or do you think that's just an excuse?
I don't know, Pamela, I don't know.
Pamela, I don't know. You can't put honey on a PB&J and call it a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So I don't know. I don't know what you call it. You can't poop on the floor and call it a toilet, Pamela. I don't know. You can't. Nah. You can take that down. Thanks, John. Thank you. You've helped us a lot with nothing. The Wall Street Journal, if this will load, also had a pretty negative, and it looks like the computer's not giving that to me. So I have a white screen for you. But it said something to the effect of Trump 2.0 risks being in major trouble. And it cites specifically the trade war and how whatever, here it is, finally, it's loaded. I was stalling. Well, the Wall Street Journal says at 100 days, Trump 2.0 is in trouble. The tariff shock he's unleashed could sink his second term. Indeed. You know, for example, we have seen border crossings plummet. Do you think people are going to focus on that? When number one, separate from that, the deportations have been throwing out the Constitution, right? Which are kind of two separate issues. And their economic well-being is suffering. So even perceived wins that they would want to celebrate, it's going to be tough to celebrate when people are feeling what is, as Carville said, right? Is the economy stupid? Is right here at home. They feel it right here, right now. Share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes I love all of you so much. And sometimes people write in the show and they'll say they love the show, to which I respond,
I love Tesla.
not that. To which I respond,
I love you back.
there we go. See you on the next video.